The air in cell block D hung heavy with desperation. Muhammad Ali, once the heavyweight champion of the world, now prisoner, V45781, stared at the rusted bars that caged him like an animal. How had his life spiraled from sold-out arenas to this 6x8 concrete box? His investment in his principles had cost him everything. If this story has already made you feel something, no matter how small, don't leave without giving back. Comment and tell me where you're watching this video from, and subscribe to the channel. Clay, get your ass out here. The guard's voice echoed against the prison walls. Nobody called him Cassius Clay anymore. Nobody except the guards who knew exactly how to cut him down to size. Ali stood slowly, his 6'3" frame still impressive despite the 60 days of prison food. His muscles remembered glory even if the world had forgotten. As he approached the cell door, the guard smirked. "Got yourself a financial opportunity, champ," the guard said, twisting the word champ into something ugly. "Warden wants to see you." Down the corridor they walked, past desperate men who'd made peace with their fate in ways Ali refused to. He'd faced worse opponents than prison, racism, the United States government, the stripping of his heavyweight title. This was just another round in a longer fight. Warden Phillips sat behind a mahogany desk that looked out of place among the prison's fading infrastructure. A private health insurance policy pamphlet sat conspicuously on his desk alongside a stack of files, reminders of the privileges that separated the powerful from the imprisoned. "Muhammad Ali," the warden said, testing the name on his tongue like he was sampling something exotic. "You've been causing quite the stir in my prison." 3 fights in the yard already. Ali stood tall. "Self-defense isn't a crime." "No, but it is an opportunity." The warden leaned forward. "I've got wealthy investors, private enterprise men who appreciate the entrepreneurial spirit. They want to see the great Muhammad Ali fight." "I'm not entertainment," Ali replied, his voice carrying the same conviction that had made him refuse the draft. The warden's smile never reached his eyes. "In here, you're whatever I say you are. Either you fight for us, or your time here gets very, very uncomfortable. Your choice, champ." As guards escorted him back to his cell, Ali's mind raced faster than his legendary footwork. He'd built his career refusing to be anyone's puppet. Standing against the Vietnam War had cost him his title and 3 prime years of his career. Now they wanted to turn him into a gladiator for the amusement of rich men who'd pay top dollar to see the fallen champion bleed. That night, as moonlight slipped through barred windows, Ali lay awake. His cellmate Rodriguez, a former banker serving time for corporate fraud, whispered from the bunk below, "They got you for the fights, didn't they?" Ali stared at the ceiling. "How'd you know?" "Same way they got Tyson from Block C." "Same way they'll get anyone with marketable skills." Rodriguez sighed. "It's a business in here. Everything's a transaction. My artificial intelligence algorithm could have predicted this. It's why I'm in here. I saw patterns in the market nobody was supposed to see. I don't dance for nobody's entertainment," Ali said firmly. Rodriguez laughed bitterly. "Then you better find good health insurance, because in here, everyone dances eventually. Or they break you." Sleep evaded Ali that night. In his dreams, he saw himself back in the ring, floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. But the ring had bars now, and the crowd wore guard uniforms, betting their mortgage payments on how many rounds he'd last. The prison's basement had been converted into something unrecognizable. Where industrial washing machines once stood, a crude boxing ring now dominated the space. Folding chairs surrounded it, filled with men in expensive suits, checking their startup investments on smartphones, while guards ensured no recording devices captured the illegal fights. Ali stood in a makeshift corner, hands wrapped in torn bedsheets instead of professional tape. Across the ring, his opponent, a mountain of a man named Crusher Wilson, serving 25 years for murder, shadowboxed with surprising speed for his size. "Remember the rules," a guard whispered to Ali. "Make it look good. Nobody wants to see a quick knockout. Warden's got money riding on you lasting at least 5 rounds. Ali said nothing. His eyes surveyed the room, noting the emergency exit, the positions of the guards, the wealthy spectators sipping contraband whiskey. One man in particular caught his attention, older, distinguished, watching him with unusual intensity. The bell rang, actually a guard hitting a metal pipe with a baton, and Ali moved to the center of the ring. Crusher charged like a freight train, all power and fury. Ali slipped the first punch, danced away from the second, his feet moving with a rhythm his body remembered, even if his mind questioned it. For 3 minutes, Ali avoided damage, while throwing just enough punches to keep the fight legitimate. When the round ended, boos cascaded from the audience. "Do you fight back, you coward?" someone shouted, the words slurring through expensive bourbon. Round 2 began with Crusher adjusting his strategy, cutting off the ring more effectively. A glancing blow caught Ali on the shoulder, sending a shock of pain through his body. Another connected with his ribs. Ali's instincts took over. He countered with a straight right that rocked Crusher back on his heels. The crowd roared its approval. Money exchanged hands. The warden smiled from his special seat. By round 4, both men were bleeding. Ali's lip was split, and a cut above his eye threatened his vision. Yet something felt familiar in the pain, in the strategy, in the dance of violence that had defined his career. This wasn't the championship bout against Foreman, or the thriller in Manila with Frazier, but in this concrete dungeon, it was still boxing, still his art. After the 6th round, as Ali sat in his corner catching his breath, the older man who'd been watching him intently approached the ring. Guards moved to intercept him, then backed away when the warden nodded his approval. "You're pulling your punches," the man said quietly, his British accent unexpected. "You could end this whenever you want." Ali wiped blood from his eye. "Who are you?" "Someone who remembers what real boxing looks like. My name's Edmund. I used to train champions before my mortgage foreclosure and tax evasion caught up with me." He glanced around, then leaned closer. "These people don't understand what they're watching. They see violence. I see poetry they're forcing you to corrupt." The bell rang for round 7. "Don't hit," Edmund whispered urgently as Ali rose. "Dance." Something in the old trainer's voice reached a part of Ali that prison had begun to bury. As Crusher charged forward, Ali didn't counter. Instead, he moved, feet floating across the canvas with the grace that had made him legendary. He slipped punches by millimeters, pivoted around his frustrated opponent, created angles that hadn't existed moments before. The crowd's reaction transformed from bloodthirsty cheers to confused murmurs. They'd paid to see brutality, not beauty. Ali continued his dance, occasionally tapping Crusher with just enough force to maintain the fight's legitimacy, but never committing to the violence the spectators craved. By round 10, the warden's face had darkened to a dangerous shade of red. When the final bell rang, Ali had technically won by points, but the dissatisfied crowd was already demanding refunds on their illegal betting. "What the hell was that?" the warden demanded, as guards escorted Ali back toward his cell. "That was boxing," Ali replied, his split lip curving into a smile. "I'm a boxer." The warden's eyes narrowed. "Next week, you fight Maniac Martinez. And if you pull that ballet crap again, you'll regret it." As they passed the prison infirmary, Ali glimpsed Edmund receiving treatment for what appeared to be a brutal beating. Their eyes met briefly, the old trainer nodding slightly despite his swollen face. The message was clear. They'd made him pay for his interference. That night, Ali sat on his bunk, processing what had happened. His body ached from the fight, but his spirit felt strangely lighter. Rodriguez watched him from across the cell. "You made powerful people lose money tonight," Rodriguez observed. "In my experience with corporate finance, that never ends well." "I didn't lose," Ali responded. "No," Rodriguez agreed. "But you didn't give them what they paid for either. That's worse." Sleep came easier that night, despite the pain. In his dreams, Ali wasn't in prison anymore. He was back in Madison Square Garden, the crowd chanting his name as he danced around the ring, his movements a masterclass in the sweet science of boxing. The beating Edmund received was just the beginning. Ali's food rations were cut. Guards accidentally spilled his water during the hottest days. His mandatory yard time was rescheduled to when the sun was most punishing. Yet something had awakened in him that couldn't be starved or beaten back into submission. 1 week later, as Ali performed push-ups in his cell, Rodriguez returned from his job in the prison's digital security office, looking shaken. "And they're bringing in a ringer for your next fight," Rodriguez whispered, checking to ensure no guards were nearby. "I overheard the warden on a video call with some tech CEO who's betting big money. They're flying in a guard from another prison, former professional. A career ended after he killed someone in the ring. They're listing him as an inmate to make it look legitimate." Ali continued his push-ups, face betraying nothing. "And Billy wouldn't be the first time the system cheated." "This is different," Rodriguez insisted. "The medical insurance paperwork I processed. They've already arranged for a private clinic to handle your training accident. They're not planning on you walking away from this one, Ali." That night, during dinner in the cafeteria, Ali spotted Edmund sitting alone, his face still showing yellowing bruises. Moving carefully to avoid drawing attention, Ali slid onto the bench across from him. "They're bringing in a ringer," Ali said without preamble. Edmund nodded slightly. "Martinez, I heard. Former light heavyweight with anger management issues and a criminal record longer than his professional career. 30 wins, 28 by knockout." "They want me to lose." "They want you broken," Edmund corrected, pushing his untouched food aside. "There's a difference. A man like you losing isn't enough for them. They need to destroy what you represent." Ali considered this. Throughout his career, he'd faced opponents selected to humble him, to silence his voice on civil rights, on war, on religion. The system had always underestimated his resilience. "I need to train," Ali decided. Edmund's eyes sparked with something like hope. "Not like before." "You can't outpunch Martinez. He's younger. And prison hasn't softened him like it has you, but there are other ways to win." Over the next week, during yard time and brief moments between work details, Edmund began Ali's reconditioning. Not with heavy bags or speed drills, but with something more fundamental. "Boxing isn't about hitting," Edmund explained as they stood in a quiet corner of the yard. "It's about not getting hit. It's mathematics. Geometry. The shortest distance between 2 points, the creation and closing of angles, the conservation of energy." While other inmates lifted weights or played basketball, Ali practiced subtle movements, shifting his weight by fractions of inches, changing the rhythm of his breathing, recalibrating the neural pathways that had made him great before prison began to dull them. "Your body remembers," Edmund assured him. "We just need to remind it." Word of the upcoming fight spread through the prison like a virus. Inmates began treating Ali differently, some with newfound respect, others with the grim solemnity reserved for the condemned. Guards doubled their harassment, sensing his renewed purpose. 3 days before the fight, Rodriguez approached Ali during lunch. I accessed the prison's secure cloud storage through their outdated firewall, he whispered. Found something you need to see. That night, Rodriguez showed Ali what he'd discovered on a contraband smartphone smaller than a credit card. Video footage of Martinez's recent fights in other prisons, brutal, sadistic displays where opponents were left permanently damaged. He doesn't just beat them, Rodriguez explained as Ali watched the grainy footage. He targets vulnerable areas, eyes, kidneys, the back of the head when referees aren't looking. This isn't boxing. It's assault with the warden's approval. Ali handed the phone back, his expression unreadable. Does Edmund know? I showed him first, Rodriguez confirmed. He said to tell you, remember what we practiced. Don't hit, dance. The night before the fight, Ali lay awake, visualizing the coming battle as he'd done before his greatest professional bouts. But this visualization was different. Instead of seeing himself delivering the knockout punch, he saw spaces, gaps between punches, milliseconds of opportunity, geometries of survival. My startup could have revolutionized predictive analytics, Rodriguez mused from the darkness of his bunk. But some patterns, once you see them, you can't unsee. The algorithm showed which major insurance companies were denying valid health claims systematically, which investment banks were deliberately triggering mortgage foreclosures in minority neighborhoods. Why are you telling me this? Ali asked. Because patterns matter, Rodriguez replied. Martinez has patterns too. I've analyzed his footage. He throws combinations in predictable sequences when he gets frustrated. He drops his right hand after missing with his left hook. Small things, almost imperceptible. But they're there. Ali closed his eyes, adding these details to his mental map of the coming fight. Thank you. Just don't make me waste my one phone call on your hospital room, Rodriguez said, his attempt at humor falling flat in the darkness. The underground arena was more crowded than before. Word had spread beyond the prison walls. Silicon Valley executives sat alongside hedge fund managers, all drawn by the promise of seeing the once great Muhammad Ali potentially suffer his final defeat. The warden had expanded the makeshift VIP section, adding genuine leather chairs and premium whiskey service. Ali stood in his corner, hands wrapped properly this time, a small concession to make the event appear more legitimate. Across the ring, Martinez bounced on the balls of his feet, a predatory smile revealing a gold tooth among the white. Edmund had managed to secure a position as Ali's cornerman through a complex series of favors and bribes orchestrated by Rodriguez. As he checked Ali's raps, he spoke in urgent whispers. First round, just survive. Let him show his patterns. Second round, establish your rhythm, but not your real one. Give him a false pattern to adapt to. Third round is when you begin. The bell rang, and Martinez charged forward with frightening speed. His first punch, a looping right hand, missed Ali's chin by centimeters as the former champion slipped just enough to evade it. The second punch, a left hook, grazed Ali's shoulder. For 3 minutes, Ali implemented Edmund's strategy perfectly. Minimal movement, conservation of energy, allowing Martinez to establish his patterns while revealing nothing of his own. The crowd booed the lack of action, but the warden watched with calculating eyes. Between rounds, Edmund whispered, he loads up before the right cross, telegraphs it with his shoulder. Remember the angles we discussed. Round 2 saw Martinez grow frustrated with Ali's defensive shell. He began throwing wilder combinations, seeking to break through with power what he couldn't with precision. Ali occasionally threw light jabs, not to hurt, but to establish the false rhythm Edmund had suggested. By round 3, Martinez was visibly annoyed, his face contorted with the special anger reserved for opponents who refused to be hit cleanly. The crowd sensed his frustration and began cheering him on more vocally, hungry for the violence they'd been promised. That's when Ali changed everything. As Martinez lunged forward with another telegraphed right hand, Ali didn't just slip the punch, he pivoted completely around his opponent, ending up behind him in a move so fluid it appeared choreographed. Before Martinez could turn, Ali was already gone, having danced to the other side of the ring. The crowd fell silent. Ali's feet moved with impossible lightness, his upper body swaying and rolling like water flowing around stones. Martinez's punches found nothing but air, each miss increasing his rage and decreasing his technique. "What is this?" the warden demanded from ringside. "Fight back, Clay." But Ali had entered a state beyond the warden's comprehension. This wasn't the Ali who had knocked out Sonny Liston or outlasted Joe Frazier. This was something new, a perfect fusion of Edmund's technical instruction, Rodriguez's pattern recognition, and Ali's own innate genius. By round 5, Martinez was exhausted, having thrown hundreds of punches that connected with nothing. The crowd's mood had shifted from bloodthirsty anticipation to something approaching awe. They were witnessing something they'd paid to destroy, yet couldn't help but appreciate. In round 6, Ali finally threw his first meaningful punch, a perfectly timed straight right that caught Martinez as he overextended. The sound echoed through the basement. Martinez staggered back, more surprised than hurt, but the message had been delivered. Ali could hit him at will, he simply chose not to. "Stop dancing and fight!" the warden shouted, his face contorted with fury. Ali glanced at him briefly, then resumed his ballet. Martinez, desperate now, charged forward recklessly. Ali sidestepped, allowed Martinez's momentum to carry him into the ropes, then tapped him with a light combination that emphasized his complete control of the situation. The wealthy spectators began to murmur among themselves. This wasn't the bloodbath they'd been promised. It was a masterclass in the art of boxing. Some found themselves cheering not for violence, but for the beauty they were witnessing. In the 8th round, Martinez resorted to dirty tactics, trying to headbutt, stepping on Ali's feet, throwing elbows when the makeshift referee wasn't looking. Ali remained untouchable, his movements transcending the brutal context of the prison basement. Between rounds, Edmund's instructions became simpler. Keep dancing. You're showing them something they can't understand but can't look away from. By round 10, Martinez could barely lift his arms. His face, unmarked except for a single cut from Ali's solitary power punch, was a mask of defeat. The bell rang, ending the travesty of a contest. The warden immediately stormed into the ring. "What the hell was that?" he demanded, spittle flying from his lips. Ali stood tall, barely sweating despite 10 rounds of constant movement. "That was Muhammad Ali," he replied simply. "You were supposed to fight," the warden shouted. "I did," Ali countered. "But just not the way you wanted me to?" The warden's face darkened. "Get him out of here," he ordered the guards. "Solitary confinement, 30 days. As guards moved to grab Ali, something unexpected happened. One of the Silicon Valley executives, CEO of a major cybersecurity firm, according to the whispers, stepped into the ring. "Actually," the executive said, "I'd like a word with the fighter." The warden began to object, but the executive cut him off. "In private. Now, or certain financial arrangements regarding your offshore accounts might find their way to the FBI's secure database." The color drained from the warden's face. With a terse nod to the guards, he backed away, allowing the executive to approach Ali. "That was extraordinary," the executive said once they were relatively alone. "I came expecting barbarism. You showed art instead." Ali said nothing, waiting. "I'm on the state prison board," the executive continued. "I came tonight because I'd heard rumors about these fights. Needed to see for myself." He looked around the basement arena with disgust. "This ends tonight." The warden will be removed by tomorrow." "Why tell me?" Ali asked. "Because men like you remind us that systems can be beaten from within," the executive replied. "Your case is being reviewed. New evidence regarding your conscientious objector status has emerged. I suspect you won't be here much longer." 3 weeks later, as Ali packed his few belongings, Rodriguez watched from their shared cell. "So just like that, you're free," Rodriguez said, his tone mixing admiration with envy. "A tech billionaire makes one phone call, and the system that insisted you were a criminal suddenly changes its mind." Ali folded his prison-issued shirt. "The system didn't change. Someone inside it did, because you showed them something beautiful in an ugly place," Rodriguez nodded. "My algorithm predicted financial patterns. Yours predicted human ones." Before leaving, Ali visited Edmund, who had been transferred to the prison's minimum security wing after the underground fighting operation had been exposed. "I hear you're headed home," Edmund said, as they sat in the quiet corner of the yard where they'd trained. Ali nodded. "They're calling it a reassessment of my case. What will you do now?" Edmund asked. "Return to the ring?" Ali looked up at the sky, the same sky that covered the entire world, inside and outside these walls. "I'll dance," he said simply, "just not for their entertainment anymore. For myself." As Ali walked through the prison gates, a free man, reporters shouted questions about his time inside, about rumors of underground fights, about his plans for returning to professional boxing. Ali simply smiled, the same smile that had captivated the world before his imprisonment. "I learned something in there," he told them. "Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in hitting hard. It's in being impossible to hit." He stepped into the waiting car, leaving the prison behind. In his pocket was a list of names: Rodriguez, Edmund, and others who had helped him survive. His first task as a free man would be to ensure they received the same justice he had. The car pulled away from the prison, and Muhammad Ali, the boxer, the poet, the dancer, the Butterfly King, headed home to resume the greatest fight of all, the one for human dignity. If you've made it this far and felt every word, don't leave without subscribing. I tell these stories with my heart in my hand to reach people like you, who feel, who get emotional, who live. If this truly touched you, give back, comment, subscribe. Come be part of this family with me until the next video.